Hello everyone, welcome back to From a Biblical Perspective with Sabriel Jemison. I am your host, Sabriel Jemison, and today I wanted to talk about Halloween. I know that we are way past Halloween by now, but for me, it is always Halloween in my soul, okay? There's your little spoiler alert. I love Halloween. I think Halloween is perfectly fine for Christians to celebrate, and I'm going to tell you why. Halloween is very looked down upon in a lot of Christian circles, especially in the media. This is kind of a new development in the last 10 years. This wasn't as much of a pushback against Halloween for Christians until the 2000s, and especially the 2010s was something that people were really seeing a rise in this. They've gone back and forth over this over the years. There have been a few different things that have happened in the media and in just public life that I've seen where people are kind of like, oh yes, let's celebrate Halloween, oh let's not, how are we going to celebrate it if we do, we shouldn't celebrate it at all, different things like that kind of just go around. And I think we can celebrate Halloween, but there are different ways that we should not approach it. But how can we do this in a godly approved way? And can we? And like I said, I believe that we can. And why are so many Christians shunning it completely? So first I want to talk about my history with Halloween. It's always been my favorite holiday. I have loved Halloween for as long as I can remember. I've dressed up almost every single year of my life, and I am a week from being 18. So there's lots of decor that I have in my house. We decorate a lot. We take it very seriously. We watch Halloween movies, all of this stuff. And I'm going to talk to you how I celebrate and how I don't think that we should celebrate, but the things that I think are approved. I'm going to give you my reasoning behind why I believe this is okay as well eventually. But the ways that I celebrate are dressing up, trick-or-treating, watching scary movies, decorating, no devil celebrating, obviously. I think there's a way that we can embrace certain aspects of Halloween without embracing Satan himself, and there is a way to separate that. I'm going to tell you how, but here's why I think that it is totally okay. First of all, embrace and be all right with the darkness. Don't be afraid of the darkness, okay? We are supposed to welcome death. There are a lot of things about Halloween, like the skeletons and the dark, creepy ideas about like death and darker topics like that. As Christians, we're not supposed to be afraid of that. We are supposed to be welcoming to that. We are supposed to welcome the idea of death, and we should not fear potential darkness when we have God on our side. We should not be afraid of things like that. And a lot of Christians get really trapped into that. They are so terrified of anything related to Halloween that they will just automatically shun it completely. And that is not showing the authority that you have if you have Christ in your heart and the authority that God has. That is not putting your trust in the ability that God has when He's in your life to save you from those dark things and to occupy your heart instead of Satan occupying your heart. That is showing way too much of a fear. There's a way to embrace those things and embrace the idea of death, and we are supposed to. We're not supposed to be afraid of death and things like that. Only one spirit can be within you, and if you have the Holy Spirit in your heart, you cannot also have a demonic spirit in your heart. You cannot have an evil spirit in your heart at the same time. There's no reason for us to be afraid of that. If you really have the Holy Spirit, if you really have God, you should not be afraid of that. We have power against sinful things. That does not mean that we can be hypocritical or we can be lukewarm, but we should not be afraid of those things so much so that we're like, oh, if I watch this movie that has Satan in it, or oh, if I walk into the store and there's all of this Halloween stuff and there happens to be something satanic around there or something that has to do with the devil, then I need to like cleanse myself of an evil spirit. That's not how that works. Okay, we should not be that fearful about things. Also, I want to talk about the origins of Halloween versus now. Okay, we don't have to worship Satan on Halloween. All right, just because something has an origin, and actually there's a lot of different roots that can be traced back to things similar to Halloween. There are pagan traditions for Halloween, there are Christian traditions for Halloween, there's all sorts of different roots that can be traced back. But if you want to think of it as the devil's holiday or the devil's day, you do not have to worship Satan, okay? The origins of what Halloween is does not have to mean the same thing as it means to you when you are celebrating Halloween. There's a lot of things that we do in our daily life that, hey, maybe they had pretty bad origins, okay? Maybe there was somebody that came up with this that was thinking of it in like a terrible way. But it's still okay for us to use that object or celebrate that event or things like that, because that doesn't mean that we also have to celebrate it in that way or think of it in that way. You don't have to welcome evil spirits into your home. You don't have to like act like you're a witch or something, okay? There's no reason for us to only be celebrating Halloween by doing those evil things. You don't even have to put witch decor in your house. If you're that terrified of it, which I am going to talk about that as well with magic and witches and things like that. But if you're that scared about it, you can just carve some pumpkins and go trick-or-treating and dress up and have fun, okay? You don't even have to put decor in your house. There's no guidelines as to, oh, if you want to celebrate Halloween, you have to do these sinful things, or oh, you have to do this thing that you're convicted about. No, you don't. You don't have to. You can add different aspects, take out different aspects, whatever you want. This is not like, you don't have to. You don't have to. Also, evil spirits, evil spiritual beings, they do exist, but they do not possess people anymore. We don't need to be scared of possession. This is one of my biggest hot takes in the Christian spheres, but nobody can cast out demons anymore. So obviously God is not going to allow demons to inhabit people. When the apostles passed down spiritual gifts, the apostles were given spiritual gifts by God, and then they could pass those down. It does not say anything anywhere in the Bible about those people also being able to pass down those spiritual gifts. So the people that the apostles chose to lay hands upon, those people could cast out demons, those people could do different miracles, but those people could not also pass down those gifts. So after them, that was over. There's no way for us to be casting out demons anymore. And if anyone tries to tell you that, I want to see the verse that they are citing about how that's possible, okay? I'm not saying that evil beings don't exist. They do. Evil spiritual beings do exist, but it is not the same world that they had back in the Bible times. It is the same world, but what I mean is that there are some things that were allowed because of Jesus, some things that were allowed because Jesus could do miracles and it was a way for him to show his power, but he's not here anymore. The apostles aren't here anymore. There's a lot of things that do not happen anymore. That time has passed away, and I'm going to put some verses that are backing up what I'm saying in the description down below, just so that everybody can look up that and see where I'm getting these from. But if you have personal convictions about these things, there's nothing wrong with not celebrating that. There's nothing wrong with not watching movies that have to do with witches or things that have to do with demons or things like that, you know? But I think we've really started to overuse the word demonic and it's lost its meaning, you know? If demonic means of the devil, and that's what it should really mean. But a lot of people mean it by saying, oh, it has something to do with evil. Like, oh, it has evil in it. Well, okay, the Bible has evil in it. Does that make it demonic? No. Like, you need to be using these words correctly. Just because something talks about evil or mentions evil or has something evil within it does not mean that you cannot associate yourself with that thing or that movie or that show. You know, K-pop Demon Hunters is a great example of this. There are a lot of Christians that are really against that movie, even though the title is literally K-pop Demon Hunters. They're hunting the demons. They're getting rid of the demons. This is not celebrating demonic things. This is getting rid of them and bringing light to the world in a different way. But I think we really need to be careful about that, because if you are looking at it that way, if you are saying that we cannot watch movies or read books or like celebrate or have anything to do with things that have to do with the devil in some way, then that's not biblical, because we are supposed to read the Bible, and there are a lot of evil things in the Bible. There's so many evil things in the Bible, and God wants us to read his word every single day, multiple times a day. So we need to be really careful about the way that we are wording those things, and we don't have to be afraid of all these things as much as everyone else is afraid of them. We need to be enough afraid of evil that we don't do it, but not so much that it is overpowering us with this fear, when we should be confident in God's ability to protect us. Magic and witches. Okay, this is my next topic. Pretending does not make it real. Okay, I have this little witch stuffed animal right here. I've had this for like a very, very, very long time. Her name is Elphaba. Real surprise if you know me. Not really, but not really a surprise. But because I have this doll, that does not mean that I am now a witch, or that I am now able to cast spells, or that I am now evil. Okay, that's not what that means. It's kind of going back to the other things I've been talking about. You can celebrate different aspects of Halloween without believing that they are good, without believing that they are things that you should be practicing in real life. Okay, obviously, you should not be pretending like you're a witch or actually practicing any type of Wiccan traditions, things like that. But just because I think that witches are kind of cute sometimes, that does not mean that I'm sinning. That does not mean that what I'm doing is sinful. Okay, there can be all sorts of ideas that you can make in your own brain for how things are. If your heart is saying something else, then it's fine. All right, there are certain things that this cannot happen for, right? There are certain things that you can't say, well, okay, if you have something else really evil in your room and you're saying, well, it doesn't represent something evil for me, that's not the same thing. But witches are not really evil all the time, okay? There's a difference between people actually trying to practice real magic versus people that are like pretend. Okay, you can dress up as a witch. You can dress up as a witch. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Pretending does not mean that you really think you can do what God can do. And that is what matters. It's what if you really actually think that you can do what God can do, and you really actually are trying to tap into these evil things, that's where the difference comes in. And just because it does not improve your relationship with God does not mean that you shouldn't do it. That's the other argument that I hear all the time, where people are like, well, it doesn't improve my relationship with God, so I'm just like I'm not gonna celebrate Halloween, or I'm just not gonna do this thing. Okay, does brushing your teeth improve your relationship with God? No. Like, neither does brushing your teeth or making your bed. That does not mean that we cannot do it. There are a lot of things you could consider purposeless, okay? You could consider them things that are not going to matter in 5 years, and you're still doing them. This is just how we live our lives. It's okay to do things that maybe don't impact your life with God either way. That's fine. It's not okay if it's impacting you towards darkness. Now, it would be different if I had all of these things. I have lots of Halloween stuffed animals over here. If I had all of these things and I had all of this decor, and I really, really believed that Halloween was the devil's holiday, and that I was like being evil on Halloween, or celebrating Halloween was evil, and I was still doing it, then yeah, that is sinful. It comes from where your heart is going to be, and it's okay to have these personal convictions. If you are personally convicted about Halloween, then no, you should not be celebrating it. But it goes back to the personal convictions that are talked a lot about by Paul, and how it is okay for other people to do them if it is not explicitly stated in the Bible, and then there's no way for me to condemn people about it. Okay, I can say better safe than sorry. There's a lot of things that the Bible does not explicitly state that I still think we should be doing or should not be doing, but I cannot personally condemn anybody for those things or for not doing those things. And this is kind of the same thing, all right? We can all just kind of agree to disagree on this Halloween thing. We don't need to be labeling all the Christians who celebrate Halloween as sinful and evil, because there's a different way that we can do things. Not all people that celebrate Halloween are celebrating evil things or the devil or things like that, right? It's okay for us to not be afraid of evil energy, right? We don't need to be terrified of things that could be related to evil, okay? We need to be confident in God's ability to protect us from those things. And that's basically all I have to say. That's basically all I have to say. If there are any specific arguments or specific questions that you have, please do leave them in the comments down below, and I will try to address those things. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this has at least kind of shifted your thinking if you were of a different mindset than this. And that does not mean, like I said, you don't have to celebrate Halloween if you don't want to. If you have this personal conviction and it isn't changed by you thinking about the things that I have said, then that is totally fine. Alright, that is totally completely fine. But thank you so much for watching anyway, and the next video that I have is going to be a video about gratefulness and thankfulness for Thanksgiving that is coming up, and that is one of my biggest soapboxes, people that are not grateful. So this is going to be a very passionate video for me next time, and I'm going to give you some tips about being grateful, why we should be grateful, how to be grateful when things are going really tough, and how to keep that positive energy, things like that. So thank you so much once again for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.